I've been in and out of one Zoom call after the next. So I thought, you know what, let me shoot today, catch some light. It's been very dark and rainy. If you live in Joburg, then you know what I'm talking about. So I had to catch, the late afternoon light, and I think I'm left with like 30 minutes to shoot. So I'm gonna get straight into it. Hey Quintessentials, how are you doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Posy, if you don't already know. And yeah, I am continuing with my digital writing series, and today I'll be tackling the elephant in the room, and that is writer's block in a time of a pandemic. If you're a writer, then I'm sure you have had some experiences of writer's block during this 80-day, almost 100 days of coronavirus in South Africa, and globally we are all trying to figure it out. So I'm going to be talking you through some ways you can overcome the lockdown blues and just propel your writing and spark that creativity once again. Stay tuned, because some of the things I will be talking through are things that you already know. Some of them are reminders. Let's get reinvigorated as we channel the creativity, so that we have creative content that we can then optimize and then get the results that we want to get through using our digital platforms. So stay tuned and let's get into it. My first recommendation for anyone that is suffering writer's block during this lockdown period is to set aside time to write. As a writer, you know when you're the most productive, so mornings, afternoons, evenings. Personally, I am not a morning person, so I don't even like talking until like 9, 10ish in the morning. But I can be productive if I am on a deadline and I know there's certain things that I need to push out. And in the morning, I find that I'm most awake and I have high energy levels as well. So because I have high energy levels, it means I'm also able to concentrate. Unlike maybe later in the afternoon, let's say around 2 or 3, when energy levels then start to dip because of the workload. Important to know, when is your most productive time of the day? Are you a night owl? Do you prefer working at night when it's quiet and everyone is in bed and there are no distractions? Because evenings are better because there's no emails, there's no phone calls that are coming in, as opposed to in the morning. If you're someone like me who works during the day and you have things that you need to churn out, if your work is actually writing as well, it's a matter of managing your workload and setting aside time to actually find that energy, to find the time to actually write. So set aside time and don't procrastinate. Get into it. Know which times of the day works best for you, the time of the day with less distractions. The second point is to not pressurize yourself to do huge tasks. I usually go by the suggestion of writing 500 words a day, depending on what I'm actually writing for. So if I'm writing a press release, that's something that I can churn out in a couple of hours. But sometimes it also depends on the level of thought and preparation that is required for a specific piece of content. So if you're writing an article is much different than it is writing an academic paper or writing a thought leadership piece. Considering the fact that there's research that goes into each article that you are going to be writing. If it is a creative piece of work, then it's much more easier because it's coming from within and you can allow yourself to free write and let it flow. But in this context of digital writing, you need to obviously consider doing the research and making sure that you're covering all your bases. You can go to my previous video on audience of one, where I talk about how to prepare in terms of creating content and research and knowing your target audience and speaking to your audience of one, understanding the language, the tone, etc. when you are creating those digital forms of content. But what is very key is that you set yourself a goal to say, okay, today I'm going to write 500 words, or today I'm going to write 1,000 words, depending on what it is that you are writing. Or set aside time to actually do the research first, put together everything that you need to, because it makes the process much easier when the information is within reach. Then you're not scrambling and trying to write and you're still looking for information. I mean, of course, you have to verify your facts and check the veracity of the content that you are churning out. So keep it simple, have a goal, have a set amount of words that you are pushing out in a day. And if you are obviously writing on deadline, then you need to know, okay, today I need to write 3 articles. This is the research that's required, and have a process in terms of how your writing is going to unfold throughout the day and throughout the week. So I would suggest and recommend a content plan to help guide you so that you are not overwhelmed when it comes to preparing content that you want to produce. The following point, which also speaks to not pressurizing yourself, as I mentioned before, is keeping things simple. Keep it simple. Do what feels good to you at the time. These are really unprecedented circumstances. We've never been in a situation like this before, where we've been on lockdown for almost 100 days now. So don't be too hard on yourself. Do what feels good and write. Don't put too much expectation or pressure on your writing. Just write, get the words out. And it's not always about measuring success. You know, writing in itself and putting that time aside and actually sitting in front of your computer and typing up a sentence is achievement enough. Go with the flow, be easy, be kind to yourself, and take it one day at a time, take it one task at a time. Don't feel the need to overwhelm yourself with pressure, as I mentioned before, but also get started. In a nutshell, get out of your comfort zone. Find pleasure in pushing the boundaries without any expectations for success. The next point is probably going to be the most difficult to achieve, and that is you need to disable your phone and disable your internet. Those are the 2 most distracting things that could really interrupt and cause even further, that can really interrupt your writing process and really aggravate your writer's block even further. If you are able to switch off your phone, then do so. If you are able to log off from your emails, then I would highly recommend that you do that and just give yourself a couple of hours within the day to write. So that might mean waking up a bit earlier to write, or like I mentioned earlier, doing your writing much later in the evening. Depending on how your work is set up, you are able to find productivity after those times. But then again, it speaks to the fact that will you have the energy levels to write after hours, after you've put in a whole day of work. But I mean, it depends on your goals as well. What do you want to achieve? What do you want it bad enough? Then if you do, you'll make the time, you'll switch off that phone, you'll get off that internet. Phones now, they give you a screen report on how much time you're spending on your phone, and I mean, it's very, it's shocking. The amount of time that you're spending on Instagram and on Twitter, you could really be investing in doing something productive and creating content that is not only going to benefit you, but is going to benefit your readers. And ultimately, if you are in business, it's going to benefit your company. You need to think of it from that perspective, in terms as an investment, and also clearing your mind and not allowing your writing to be influenced too much by external circumstances. My next point is there's a lot to be gained by not writing but thinking. Sometimes we put so much pressure, sometimes we pressurize ourselves so much to write that we don't give ourselves time to just let things be. So give yourself time to just think things through, you know, and also you want to create content that's relevant, that's not tone deaf, that speaks to the current circumstances. If you are writing from a business perspective and you are trying or working at attaining new clients, take a step back and listen. What are people saying? What are the current topical issues? What is being debated? What is being discussed? Just because you're not writing, it doesn't mean that you're not adding value to your writing process. Sometimes you need to allow your thoughts to permeate. You need to sit on them. You need to interrogate some of your philosophies and your ideologies, and also as a critical thinker, you need to look at various angles and not just come from a narrow-minded or myopic view. Or by not thinking, you are contributing. By thinking, beg your pardon, by thinking, please do think. By thinking, you are adding to your writing process. And also you might have things that are bothering you mentally. Shortage of income is a real thing right now, where jobs are being cut, jobs are being lost. Maybe the freelance writing gigs that you used to get before the coronavirus have now completely been eliminated, and you are really struggling to get your finances going. All these things add to your writer's block, and you need to just give yourself that grace. Trying to figure out how you're gonna live from day to day and paying your bills does affect your creativity, does affect your writing capabilities, because sometimes you'll feel like, why am I writing? How am I gonna pay these bills? By thinking, you are contributing to the writing process. Allow yourself to think things through and be that critical thinker and contribute something worthy to the conversation, not just your own views, but look at things from various angles and use that in your writing so that people are drawn to you and they are able to relate to your experiences and are able to relate to the messaging that you are pushing. Not pushing, but rather portraying and putting across. My next point is, don't be afraid to take a break. Sometimes distance is the thing that you need from your writing that will help spark creativity. So switch off that laptop, switch off your phone, switch off that iPad, close that notebook, and just give yourself time away from your writing. I find that especially when it comes to academic writing, I really find this really helps. You can only read so many academic articles before it's like, oh, okay, I mean, honestly, you know? So give yourself a break, step back. By the time you come back, you'll be refreshed, you'll be invigorated. That new energy will produce bursts of creativity and help to propel your writing to the next level. Breaks are very important. Sleep is very important. If you're not feeling at peace, it really affects everything. It affects your writing as well. So let's not take that for granted. So take a break, go for a walk, do something fun with your kids, blog if you are a blogger like me. Whatever you enjoy, use that as a deflection from your writing for a certain period, and then when you're ready to come back, you can make that return. The second last point is do less reading of the news. You just literally have to open Twitter and your day will be spoiled. There is so much trauma that is happening in the world. There is so many bad things that are happening in the world. So do yourself a favor and minimize the amount of news that you are watching, the amount of news that you are consuming, because that will affect your mental health and that will also affect your writing abilities, and it will really definitely get you in that block, and you might find it difficult to get out. I have realized that when I open up, my social media platforms, it's pandemic this, it's a woman was killed in this most graphic, most indescribable, most heartbreaking manner. I just find myself, I can't take that. So I have to make a conscious decision to really lessen my consumption of news. It's not easy because you also want to keep up to date with what's happening, and especially if you are in a profession like mine, which deals particularly with news, and you have to engage with the news. But I think really you have to just ration yourself and decide that there's certain things that I cannot watch, there's certain topics that I refuse to engage in for a certain period, just for your own sanity and your own mental health. And you will see that the load will lift, and the misery and the sadness will also lift, and you'll get better. And then in addition to that, we're also dealing with lockdown, so it compounds everything. So make sure that you read less news so that you don't feel helpless all the time, and use that time to edit, use that time to do other productive things like I mentioned in my earlier points. And then my final point, when it comes to unblocking your writer's block, especially now in a time of COVID-19 lockdown, is to use writing prompts. So writing prompts is simply writing to a theme. I know it could be difficult and some people might not enjoy doing that, but writing to a theme will help you. It's almost like a free writing exercise. Free writing is when you write without a plan. You're just letting the words come out. It's like a freestyle basically. If you're a rapper, you're freestyling but on paper. So allow yourself to freestyle, maybe have a theme. Let's say, for example, writing about earlier memories but from a perspective of somebody else, or writing from a certain time period or as a different gender. So there's many options that you can use for writing prompts, and you can even go online and Google writing prompts and they can give you various themes that you can write to. So that's another great way to unblock any congestion when it comes to your writing. Ladies and gents, that is it for today. I think I've given you a few tips, reminders, recommendations, suggestions, and I hope they've been helpful. If they have, please do give me a thumbs up. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, do all those things. Tell your friends to follow me, comment. It's really great to engage. Increases my rankings so that I'm more visible to more viewers, and I mean, that is the goal, to reach more people and to really spread the word and to improve. That's one of my goals. So if you want to support one of my goals, please do like, share, comment, subscribe. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your support, and I really hope that this video will help you to find the spark again in your writing. And don't be afraid, just get in the game and do it, you know. Take the break, but don't procrastinate too long. You've got this. You're a great writer. I know, so as writers, we are very critical of ourselves. We're perfectionists, and it doesn't always have to be perfect. It just needs to be on paper. You'll fix it later, or you'll get somebody else to help you fix it. So thanks, Quintessentials. I'll see you in my next episode as we carry on with our digital writing series.